A few patches are brown, but every blade of black grass will be a deep green before too long. I like the yellow flowers that coming up on the left here at the home of Floyd Reese, general manager of the Tennessee Titans. On the left there, he puts the team together. Well, one house up ahead wasn't good enough. Our star bought it and sold it. This next on the right wasn't good enough. Would you care to live in this dump? The fellow we call Possum lived here. This was the last home of George Jones. Today, George has a house 2 or 3 times the size of this one. Well, this is the last one he lived in. And instead of the small yard, George has 100 acres and room for a lot of horses, but he's a little too far for us, unfortunately, on this tour. We show George's on a Christmas lights tour every year. We're out there every night for about 5 or 6 weeks. What are they doing on the left here? Are they moving out? That's a dentist there. I looked it up. I guess the dentist is moving out. Did you see the big chandelier in the foyer? That's so typical. Somebody in the paper said that they call those lawyer foyers, where you can show off the chandelier. That was dentist there. We'll see the homes of the stars listed in the brochure. Now, if you looked over the list in our brochure, and if you noticed your favorite wasn't there, we might have a chance to see some other ones. I'd hate to go a block away from your favorite star. Hate to be the first time. You can always hope for it. Well, more big brick houses on the right. Cows were grazing here just a few years ago. Notice that none of the trees are as tall as the rooftop in there. That's because it's all new. And same story on the left. This is all new. Cows were grazing on that hillside. More big brick houses. We're on the main road coming from the interstate, so the houses built along this road would have been built just as they were developing this side of the interstate. And you'll see some one-story houses now and then, 2-story houses that aren't as expensive as what we've seen. These are at least 20, 25 years old. He wrote here, the cars can't get by me when I stop, but nobody's behind me right now, so maybe we'll have a few seconds. I want you to look for an 86-year-old farmhouse. Left time to get a good look at Trish's 86-year-old farmhouse. She has several acres of land around the old house here. Notice the security fence. She didn't have to follow the rules about security fences. This house predates all the subdivisions. Several acres here. She'll come in the back way and park her pickup truck out back. Even the women drive pickups. When we see the big blue Chevrolet Dually, the biggest pickup Chevrolet makes, we know Garth Brooks is there. And I hope I don't shock you when I tell you that we saw his pickup even before they got married. They got married back in December, and that's the house where they like to stay when they're in town together. But they do spend more time at their new home in Oklahoma now. Now around the corner is a 1930s farmhouse up the next hill on the right in the trees, where Alan Jackson used to live. Later in the tour, we'll see Alan's current home, but his old place wasn't bad. He had a big old house, land, room for horses, but Alan still wanted something more. And it's been about 8.5 years since Alan finished building his spectacular mansion and moved from this house to his mansion we'll see later. And we'll talk a lot more about Alan. Not the country anymore, not a dirt road. This is the suburbs of Nashville. We'll stop at the bottom of Dolly's driveway and get a great look at the house. This first driveway coming up on the left, Dolly's life-size doll houses. Oh, I see Dolly's van. Yeah, it's up there in front of the house. Dolly and Carl's van. They go camping and they'll sleep out in their van. It's up there. And then Carl's station wagon is up there. He's been doing some yard work. He's got a beat-up old 35-year-old station wagon. We'll pull up here. I got one car that wants to get past me. There it goes. All right. Did you see Carl's station wagon up there? It is. That's his station wagon. Looks like about 35 years old. Carl's been doing some yard work. Now, people can't believe when we see Carl out in the yard picking up sticks and all, that he drives that old beat-up car. Now it doesn't have many miles on it because it just goes across the yard. I don't know if he takes it out of the property anymore, but that was his work car for a long time. Carl waves to us when you catch him out here. Look for Carl. And you saw him. Did you get a good look at Dolly's van up there? Dolly and Carl's van? Dolly says that she and Carl will be at Grand Canyon or Yellowstone or Great Smokies. They'll be camped out in the back of their van and somebody's next to them in a $300,000 RV. And here's Dolly, and they're sleeping in their van. It's a nice van, but it's just a van. Looks like Dolly could be home now. It's really exciting when we catch Dolly coming down the hill here in Shoeaches, of course. Take a look next to the house at the little chapel where Dolly and Carl have renewed their wedding vows. Next month they celebrate their 40th anniversary. Dolly and Carl never had children, but Dolly's been a second mother to her huge extended family, and they built a picnic shelter up the hill and playground, and then look for the playhouse that they built. That's just up the hill to the left here, filled with video and ping pong and pool tables. And then the guest house next door is also part of the estate. Dolly spends more time here than anywhere else. It's her main home in all the world for 34 years now. But she does travel, of course. And last weekend she was at the 2006 opening of Dollywood, her theme park. That's about 200 miles away in East Tennessee. She got a nice apartment there, but she lives here. Dolly employs any relative who needs a job, especially at Dollywood. Over 200 of the employees are related to Dolly. Well, buy this next house on the left up ahead here and be Dolly's neighbor. It's just waiting for you. Waiting for a buyer. We'll get a quick look and then we'll come back and talk about this house. Dolly was here for the groundbreaking of the Arnold Palmer Golf Course here on the right. Arnold played the first round of golf when it opened up. They'll have 438 mansions when they finish building in here. I'm glad Martina McBride didn't buy one of these because we can't go in there. Martina was considering a house in here. We'll see her house later. We can see a handful of the houses from the main road here. Well, let's go into the Grove at Bond Brook, and it's a little bit less expensive than the estates of Bond Brook we just came through. These start at about $575, $600, $650. They get up to $700, the biggest. Now I've noticed a couple of houses for sale up here. The homeowners may be ready to trade up for a mansion at Governor's Club around the corner after building up equity here for a few years. They call these starter homes. Our next star, he's been in his starter home going on 6 years, but he's got big plans. He's bought land a few miles away, plans to build his dream house. But maybe at least for another year we'll show the house. He'll rough it here in Bond Brook until he builds his dream house. What? Well, he's already said hello to you on video. Down below us to our left now is the home of Trace Atkins, and we'll see it on the right side too when we circle around. Trace and Rhonda, they're 3 young daughters. Well, I don't see Trace's new pickup truck, so he's somewhere out around town. Trace is definitely around town, though. He's appearing Tuesday at the National Star show at the ACUP Theater next to the Opry next to Opry House. So watch for Trace Tuesday if you have a ticket. He was out west for about 3 weeks and just came home the other day. And he's going to spend time and wave to us when he's home. And every now and then he'll run up the driveway and jump on the bus. Trace got on the bus first time. He bumped his head in the ceiling. 6'6". Monday, Trace opened up the CMT Video Awards. I hope some of you saw him singing his huge hit, Honky Tonk Badonka-Donk, the biggest hit of his entire career. Trace's career is just going great now, and we know he can afford his mansion. He had a million-selling party recently for his album sold 1 million copies, probably getting close to 2 million sold now. That usually made a couple $1 million for Trace in the bank. I'm not surprised that Tricia prefers that house to Garth's house. Garth still owns his house in Nashville, where he lived with his ex-wife. And Tricia prefers staying in the one you just saw. Garth's house is up in the hills north of town, never been on tour, you can't see it from the road. And I don't know if they'll get around to selling that one. But they'll keep Tricia's house, I'm almost certain, because the music business is here. Tricia's still very active, even if they do spend more time in Oklahoma now. And calls her 4-car closet, that's where she stores her shoes. All walk-through closet space up there. You might know Lorianne from the Crook and Chase show, or Music City Tonight. She and Charlie Chase have a syndicated radio show, the Crook and Chase Countdown. Charlie has talked about the place up ahead over the years, the firehouse that we'll go by. He says it was built to put out Lorianne's cooking fires. Pony Castle, they like to do that. Notice those 3-story houses out there? I guess they've got elevators. If we turn left here, that would take us to Franklin, just minutes down the road. And I wish we had time to go to probably the most beautiful town in the state. Franklin was established in 1799, 20 years after Nashville. It's got the pre-Civil War courthouse, the Victorian Main Street, and dozens of historic houses. Brentwood was only established in 1969. It's a young town. Franklin is the county seat of a wealthy county we've seen. According to the 2000 census, Williamson County, I guess these are a minimum of about 10,000 square feet, up to about 25,000 square feet. And River County up on the right. I don't know any country stars, just more ordinary people. Williamson County is better known for the horses. This is #1 in the state for horses, this county here. And there are more horses in Tennessee than any other state, except for Texas and California. And those states are so much bigger than Tennessee. Your odds of seeing horses are some of the best here. The old rock walls run for thousands and thousands of miles throughout Middle Tennessee. We call them slave walls. Many of them were built originally by slave labor. When the first Nashvillians came in the 1780s, 1790s, rocks were lying on the ground. And before they could plow the ground, they had to pick up the rocks. Montpelier. And the house is still there, that's the important part, but the plantation is gone. It was a 12,000-acre plantation. There are only about 40 acres surviving. We have a modern mansion coming up on the right side and a historic mansion coming up on our left. Montpelier coming up on the left here. Just up the hill. At one time a 12,000-acre plantation. And the house dates back about 190 years or so. These would have been cotton fields in the old days. We don't see cotton today, but cotton was the #1 crop around Nashville before the Civil War. Slaves picked the cotton in these fields, baled it up, took it into Nashville, right where the Hard Rock is today. Is where the flatboats, the old walls that look old, they are. And once in a while you'll see a wall that only built recently. If you look at the tree trunks to your left, you might notice wire cages around the trunks to keep horses from nipping at the bark. No damage to trees for that part. The Ingrams have large horse farms here. Richest family in the entire state of Tennessee. John Ingram on the left, Orrin Ingram on the right, his brother Orrin, the chairman of the United States Polo Association. Let's take a look at some of John's horses. Say hello. A lot of the horses are raised for polo matches. Well, they're not very friendly, are they? I've noticed that, but after all, these are billionaire horses. They're rich and they know it. They're kind of snobby sometimes. Richest horses in the state. For years, they had a star, but the star gave up this beautiful place for the man she loves. She left this place with her first husband. She married a much nicer guy. And who can blame her? She's married to Vince Gill now. Riverstone Farm belonged to Amy Grant, and there's the mansion where Amy lived for over 15 years, beyond that white horse there. Amy had 220 acres of some of the most beautiful land in Middle Tennessee. It's farther from the back door to the Harpeth River than it is from here to the front door. Out behind are the guest houses and the stables and the professional recording studio and the helicopter landing pad and the airplane landing strip and all those beautiful acres. She could have had it. Gary Chapman sold that away. Amy's ex-husband. And nobody famous now. But if you had bought it, then you'd be the neighbor of the star with the finest home of all our stars. It belongs to the, from the angle through the trees before the leaves get too thick. I see the top of it up ahead to the right now. Just above that black fence, and it's going to rise into view, and he's second down. Well, we're about to lose this view behind those trees, and in the summertime people say, where is it? They haven't seen any of it yet. But we always get that great view on the driveway. We'll continue on up there and stop with a great view on the driveway. We'll pass the neighbor's gate and continue up to Allen's. To the right of the house, you'll see his enormous garage, too. Look for the red rooftop. The garage alone is as big as any mansion we've had on tour. Room for dozens of cars in there, including his 1965 Amphicar, and Alan can drive that car into the fishing hole and fish from his car. You can see his fishing hole behind the trees. Remember that Alan lived here from the house we saw before. Alan helped build this house. He calls the place Sweetbriar, and the name is on the wall left of the gate. We'll move around and do whatever we need to get a picture. We'll be here for a minute. We have to get out of Alan's way when he comes in or out, and he'll wave, of course. You never know what he might be driving. Alan has 140 acres to go along with the mansion, and we can't see all the way out back. The Harpeth River curves around behind the 140 acres. Alan's got 2 fishing holes. We saw one of them, and we'll see another fishing hole up ahead. Out behind the house where we can't see, Alan's got his own private lake with white sand beach and boat dock. And I'll show you pictures later of the grounds here. Well, let's take a look across the lawn. We'll continue on up and enjoy the view across the lawn. Behind the wall, you'll see the asphalt walking path that runs for 3 miles around the property. And Denise likes to take power walks with her girlfriends on the walking path. Alan and Denise and their 3 daughters. You think Alan cuts his own grass like Jimmy Dickens does?
No.
Look for the red rooftop on the far side, and Alan's barn will come into view. Hey, here comes Denise. Wave to Denise. This might be Denise here. Alan. Now it's somebody else. They've got the white Escalade too. I think nobody else should drive a white Escalade out here. There's the driveway where the help goes in. Alan has people who work for him full time. He says his biggest exercise is pointing. I need this done, I need that done. Another fishing hole here, and beyond the fishing hole, Alan's log cabin in the trees. When the kids are noisy in the house, Alan can write songs in his log. Alan lands his airplane right out there in the grass, beyond that second fence. And every now and then we'll be here at the right time to catch Alan landing or taking off. Well, here's some of the people who put their canoes into the Carpet River. Ronnie bought this older house that was built in the 40s. He added the wings onto it, made it 12,000 square feet. As big as it is, it's half the size of Alan Jackson's house. The barn is a quarter-of-a-mile walk out back, and you saw that in the video. All fixed up as a party barn. And think about my house. I can't fool people very long. That's Mr. Richard Small at Forest Hills. The great thing about Forest Hills is the park on the left. Warner Park, $1 million is the appraised value in the property records for his 21,000 square foot home that extends way back from here. This man processes credit cards. He had $6.1 million for Dr. Robert Christ's place, a member of the family that founded Hospital Corporation of America. Look back over your right shoulder to see the front of Dr. Robert's house, right through here. That's where they tore one down. Like this house on the right, that's a brand new place. They just tore one down there. There's a straight line of trees on the right. These trees planted in a straight line. This might have been a farm, but that was a long time ago. And the trees have had a chance to grow. So the big difference between Belmead and much of Brentwood is that there are mature trees here. There are 1,100 houses, not all mansions, but certainly there are hundreds and hundreds of them. If we went a mile up this road and made a right turn on Park Center Drive, that would take us to the home of Amy Grant. Tear that one down, put up a big mansion. That's a 3.5 acre lot, plenty of land. They'll probably build one more along the lines of this next house coming up on the left. This is a newer one. They tore one down to make way for this one. And are they going to tear this next house down? Looks like they're getting ready to do something here. Here's the home across the long front lawn to the left of John Abram. Remember that we saw his horse farm, and they all live here. Martha and her 3 sons. Now Martha's house is very nice. We won't see it. But you never know how rich she is looking at the house. You'd think she's worth, it's even a mansion, but you'd think she's worth only $400 or $500 million. Instead of being worth billions. The biggest house in Nashville belongs to the second billionaire. And as at $12.8 million, and it would be a $50 million house in much of California. Dr. Thomas and Dr. Robert have a baby brother, and he's got a house nearby too, Dr. William. I hate to say that Dr. William is the failure in the family, after all he's a doctor too, but his current position, second most powerful American after the president, he's the failure in the family. We can't show. And I'm glad somebody brought him up, because I might have forgotten. Some people say they are our top couple in country music today. They bought an old house, they renovated, they moved in the fall. Up ahead to the left with the square columns, the new old home, new for them, Faith Hill and Tim McGraw. They moved in the fall into Belmead. And here's the house just up. We've had a number of sightings lately of Faith and Tim. You're having to look through me right here. Well, we'll pull a little bit farther up and you'll be able to see new flowers and trees and bushes. And we were pretty sure that nobody was home that day. Now, Lake Keith is in a gated community, and here's the gate coming up on our left. I can't take you even if the gate is wide open for the construction vehicles. Tim is just in there. I mean, not Tim, Keith. Just in there. Can't take you. So, Leanne Rhymes and her husband moved in back in June last year, so he hasn't been there long. I just found out in September about Keith. You know, I took people in there one time before I got back to the office. People standing songwriter. Before he became his own star, he wrote Bye Bye for Jody Messina, My Next 30 Years for Tim McGraw, Right on the Money for Alan Jackson. But now he sings his own songs, and you might remember Another Day in Paradise, You're Looking Good, Carlene, and a number of other hits by Phil Vassar. Always plays piano. It's kind of unusual for a country star. And you can get a look across the lawn here, so we'll go back into the traffic. Phil Vassar there in the right. $7.9 million. This is the number 3 most expensive house in Nashville. Mr. Daly, you've never heard of him. Up the hill to the left, Tony Brown is considered the top dog in the Nashville music business. He'll get a ballroom off the bat. And Audrey lived here for the rest of her life. I remember those headlines in the paper in 1975. Audrey Williams, wife of Hank Williams, dies, age 52, right here in the house, as long as you've been elected governor. It's convenient that our Governor Bredesen was our Mayor Bredesen before, so he's got a house to live in while we work on this one. And it was purchased by the state in 1949, built in 29. From what I've read, I understand a big crow or something. It is something moving, isn't it? Well, Minnie's house was sold out of the family after Minnie. Behind the long brick wall on our left, here's the home of Ronnie Millsap now for 29 years. Ronnie's been living here 29 years. Look for Ronnie Millsap to go in the Hall of Fame in the next few years, and he certainly deserves it. He and his wife have a son, Todd, and at least one grandchild now. Well, Ronnie bought his house from country star React with the pistols and silver dollars. Looks like a Hall of Fame unit. He'd sign autographs. He'd take pictures with you. He'd serve lemonade on a hot day. Martinez Mansion is the number 12 most expensive in the city of Nashville, according to the property records.